everyone. Can I start by giving you some thought-provoking information? We've seen a lot of port developments around the region, and I'll speak specifically on Dar es Salaam. Dar es Salaam has doubled the capacity over the years, but you will not believe that as rail, we only move less than 3% of the cargo that goes through the port. And that will just demonstrate with the discussion that we're going to have and see how going forward we can try and improve on those numbers. 7% is just too little. In Zambia, the SI allows the transporters to use 30% on rail. So let me call upon the panelists to join me on stage. I've got Kumbulani Mavura, General Manager BBR. Please join me. I've got Yolisa Khan, Chief Development Business Officer, Transnet. I've got BP Awati, Head and COO Nakala. Candido John, Board Director, CFM. Nixon Dlamini, CEO, Iswatini Rail, and also President Sara. And I've got Richmond Dondofema, CS, I hope I pronounced that correct, CSIR. Please welcome them to the stage. My name is Nimon Zulu, CEO for Calabash Freight. Our company operates on Lubumbashi to Dar es Salaam route under open access rights. It's my honor to moderate this important discussion on seamless connections, advancing integrated intermodal transport to boost mobility and economic opportunity across Africa. I must declare an interest here. This subject is not only a professional mandate, but also a passion, one that directly speaks to the work my company undertakes daily. I'm particularly pleased that we have such an outstanding panel of leaders from rail, ports, road freight, and logistics to help us explore this theme. Intermodal transport is no longer optional. It is a necessity if Africa is to unlock its trade potential, reduce logistic costs, and take full advantage of the opportunities offered by the African continental free trade area. Still significant challenges remain: congestion at the ports, fragmented rail linkages, underinvestment in key corridors, and the urgent need for digital solutions and harmonized policies. Our task today is to move beyond diagnosing these problems. We must focus on practical solutions, shared priorities, and collaborative strategies that can accelerate intermodal connectivity across SADC and the wider continent. I look forward to an open, dynamic, and looking forward to the conversations. Maybe I can start from here, from Lovemore. Could you please just introduce yourself and give us some, yeah, no, and then you can also give us some of the solutions that we're looking at before I get into the questions that we have.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Richmo Dondofema, and I come from CSIR, a research institute in South Africa, research council in South Africa. So I'm a logistics expert, and when we look at intermodality, we don't examine intermodality in isolation. We examine it within the logistics network and infrastructure. And you'd realize that much of the problems that we see within the intermodal solutions are consistent in other infrastructure within the logistics network. And these are to do with the backlog when it comes to maintenance, technology adaptation, the alignment. When it comes between the modes, you'd have one mode being more superior than the other. I think here in South Africa, you'd realize that a lot of money is being put in roads than in rail. Eventually, most of the roads performing much better than rail, so you have those asymmetries. You'd also realize that there are also asymmetries when it comes to the capacity that these different modes do carry. You'd realize when it comes to shipping, the bottlenecks is mainly at the ports itself. It's not at the carriers in the sea, but when it comes to rail, you'd realize that there is also always capacity limitations when it comes to rail and slots availability. So maybe just to start, the picture that I want to paint is that it is the entire system. When you speak about intermodality, you're speaking about the entire system, not about a single mode. And you'd realize that what you'd want is that you would want a system with flexibility, that when one mode suffers, suppose there is an emergency or an accident in one mode, then the other mode will still be able to carry the freight to the desired markets. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. That's what we're looking for. We're looking at solutions on how we can now best utilize the intermodal transportation. Maybe you can pass the mic to BP. Many corridors face port congestions, like he said, and the long dwell times. From your perspective, what specific measures in port railroad integration can best reduce these delays and cut costs for the shippers?
Good afternoon, everyone. When we talk of intermodal transport, it has ingredients of 5 modes. One is sea, air, rail, road, and now waterways also. Waterways may be very limited in the sub-Saharan African countries, except for maybe Malawi or Zimbabwe. But majorly it is sea, air, rail, and road. Out of which, if we talk of urgency or emergency, then air is the preferred mode of transport between 2 places, whether it is intercontinental or within the country. Otherwise, sea railroad combination is the cheapest and most reasonable mode of transport. Now coming to the sea railroad intermodal connectivity, I'll give you just one example. Like in Nakala Logistics, we are working on 2 types of commodities. One is entirely coal. So that also has an intermodal transshipment at Nakala port, coal port. So we are transporting coal from Moti's mines in Tate or province of Mozambique, and through Malawi all the way it comes for 900 kilometers up to Nakala coal port, it is transshipped on the ships, vessels, and then it goes for international boundaries. And if we talk of general cargo, which is of general consumption, FMCG, white goods, cement, fertilizer, wheat, all these things, Then it's the Nakala port where we have the import. Ships are coming from outside. There's a first transshipment which happens from the sea to rail or road. And when it goes on railways, then it goes into Mozambique or into Malawi, and maybe shortly it will be going into Zambia also. So there is a need for intermodal dry port capacity in these places so that it can be transshipped from from the railways to the roadways for doorstep delivery. Now, coming to the selection of the mode of transport, rail versus road. Many people say that there should be a competition. Railways people will say, our share of transport has reduced, road has taken more, we should capture it back. I totally disagree with this. Actually, this intermodal transport should be planned in the interest of the country and the region as a whole. Every country should have a national transport plan, which should have 2 or 3 parts: national rail transport plan and road transport plan, and covering sea and air. Similarly, sub-Saharan region, if we see, there should be a regional transport plan comprising of 2-3 components of regional rail and regional road. Now, how these things will be effective? If we talk of bulk commodities, it should be transported on railways. And if it is like doorstep delivery, small FMCG white goods, it can go through road, unless it is bagged and containerized and categorized as bulk transportation. Then it goes onto rail, and then it shifts to road. So the challenge is here. Challenge here will come at the seaport, proper availability of railway lines, their maintenance, availability of trains, faster unloading of container or bulk cargo from ship, and faster loading into the railways. That is number one. And when it goes into inter-country transshipment, for example, it started from Mozambique, Nakala port, it enters into Malawi at Interlagos and Neuchi. Now their trains are standing for the want of the immigration clearances, custom clearances at 2 places. It will waste 2 to 3 hours in Mozambique, it will waste 2 to 3 hours in Malawi. So that is where one-stop border post for railways becomes important, so that turnaround time of train is less and transshipment and movement of goods is much faster. Some work is being done, but a lot needs to be done in this regard, one. And then challenges of legal and technical interoperability issues. In this, immigration department of both countries get involved, custom department gets involved. And when a train has to start from one country and end in another country, then the technical issues of movement of train, axle load, bridge loading, schedule of dimension, MMD, and state of maintenance of assets, all those things come in picture. So these all 3 three issues need to be addressed.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. You've raised some cardinal points there. We spoke about the efficiency in rail, and you just mentioned that rail should be cheaper. And we have found that rail is becoming expensive because of the inefficiencies. And then you've also spoken about the one border, which was also mentioned yesterday. I think those are the critical points. Like the other gentleman said earlier, if we don't action what we discuss, then it's going to be a talk show. So I think we all need to look at these that have been mentioned. Candido, what's your take on it, and what do you see as the biggest choke points holding back alignment across the modes of transport?
Good afternoon. Thank you for the question. We have a lot of challenge in Mozambique and in the region. Just to have an idea, in Port of Maputo, every day we are receiving more than 1,000 trucks every day. In Port of Beira, we are receiving almost 800 trucks per day, and sometimes we have a queue in the road for more than 30 kilometers of the trucks waiting to cross border or to enter in the port. So this one here is creating a lot of problems. And the solution we are implementing is to build dry ports. So we start building the dry ports to avoid the congestion in our port, road. We started in the south in Resano Garcia, so the trucks are coming, offload the products and load them to the train to the port. The same we are doing in the center of Mozambique, in Mutare. We have a dry port there. And even, I think so, in Eswatini also, they are going to build a dry port where the trucks are coming from mines and offloading, then load them to the train to the ports. So this is the solution we find. And another solution we find is that the trains, they're not stopping in the border. They go through to Zimbabwe, Eswatini also, they're running their trains to Maputo. We are running our trains inside of Eswatini. So this is a solution we find that it can help for intermodal transport. CFM original, we were intermodal companies. We have trains, we used to have airlines, we used to have trucks. So, but things are changing, and we can say that we were, when CFM was founded, was really intermodal solution for the country and the region. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you. Can I just jump to the lady, you know, we forgot it's Women's Month, just to, I know she wants to say something. The minister mentioned or announced about the 11 private operators that are coming on or that have been shortlisted. How do you see this helping in the regional integration and helping with the current situation that we are faced with?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you so much for that question. And couldn't be more relevant coming from the point that was just made just now. I think it's very exciting. I mean, those 11 new train operating companies that have been given access to the rail network. This is a network otherwise that was solidly under the ownership and operations of our operating division, Transnet Freight Rail. And it immediately unlocks 20 million tons of cargo onto the network. Whether it's new volumes or volumes that are migrating from road to rail, it's neither here nor there. And I'm particularly excited as part of the team that's driving the establishment of a new leasing company, 100% owned by Transnet for now, because half of those companies that have been given those slots have applied for rolling stock to us. So again, we are hoping that we'll be enabled to assist them in that regard. Most importantly, though, from a cross-border regional integration point of view, it gets us to the implementation of the previous studies we've done so many years ago, where we start talking about accessing each other's networks in a very seamless fashion. That's number one. It does somehow help us with operational efficiencies, because if a train is coming, as an example, from Maputo side, CFM, and it is to, and I'm making an example in this particular case, that cargo is to be received, which is not the case because they run a seamless operation, by our operating company, which is TFR, there has to be joint planning. Because as the one comes, it must be received by the other. Because otherwise then you lose the slot and you get penalized, and it goes against the principles of reducing the cost of doing business. We have, then I'll say 11, there's probably more, but we have about 11 strategic trade corridors that need to be unlocked. So all of this, the way I see it, it is going to unlock a whole lot of industries, the mining industry, the manufacturing sector, because the demand for rolling stock is going to be up. It is going to also increase the cross-border volumes. If you look at the North-South corridor, my understanding, and this is based on a study we did a while back, that in its current capacity, or in its capacity then when we did the study, it could easily take 1 million tons, but it's taking less than 300,000 tonnages per annum, and that's a missed opportunity. What I think we need to do, and now that there's a new rail reform in South Africa, we need to look at the synergies between what we have developed and what is currently in the other countries, because there has to be synergies. There has to be a complementary, compatibility between the two policies. So I suppose the long and short of it is that we are likely to see an increase in cross-border volumes. We probably are likely to see an increase in a demand for rolling stock. And I'm hopefully, again, I'm saying this with my hand on my heart, that the railway authorities will start, I suppose, collaborating even more now that the network is open in the fashion in which it is.
You've mentioned the listing of rolling stock. I'm sure we've got people from outside South Africa. Is that only limited to South Africa, or
No.
are you going across the board?
No. If we've got certain requirements, if you have a cargo owner, if you're a cargo owner and you want to run on the line, there's certain things that we ask for. But when you come into South Africa, obviously you have to have a slot. If you're operating within your country or outside of South Africa, there is no slot required, but there's a whole lot of things that we require. But first and foremost, we need to ascertain what kind of rolling stock assets are you looking for, diesel type as well as the locomotives. Right. Sorry, I meant locomotives as well as the wagons, sorry.
Thank you for that. Coming to BBR, on improving port rail infrastructure, and showcasing successful corridor models. We have seen strong corridor success stories. Which model stands out to you, and what lessons can be replicated across other corridors?
That's an interesting question, because you want me to be biased. Because I'm sure you've seen the model, because the most important thing, I think, or the most shocking point that we are having in all the discussions that we have is the underinvestment in rail. So underinvestment in rail comes back to what Mr. John was saying just now. You realize the intermodal becomes difficult to run across, because at the end of the day, he's got 1,000 trucks that are coming into Maputo, 800 to 900 trucks that are coming into Beira. Same story again, 3% of DA, it's only rail, which means 90% is going to road and everything else. But all of this comes back to investment. So you have realized that if we use the concept of triple Ps, right, public-private partnership, and be able to invest, for example, in our North-South corridor, we've been privileged in Zimbabwe that we had BBR, and there was investment that came in and it cut the line into, it reduced big time in terms of transit times. And now you can see you can move traffic from Beitbridge all the way to Bulawayo in the shortest time possible, 12 hours at most, everything is there. And it has been quite a successful model. But at the end of the day, you realize if the feeders, like what my sister here said, if we have a problem, you fix the certain area. And if you are feeding into the next, and there are compatibility issues into the next rail administrator, you're also going to have that choke. So we will not be successful. It will always be difficult to be successful for as long as the next person is not successful. For example, we have the North-South corridor, we have the Lobito corridor, and what's called the Great Garcia corridor. All those corridors, it's everybody who is involved. So the conversation will have to just to integrate and come and make sure that everything is done together. We do it together as a whole. Only then can we talk about successful models in terms of, especially on the sub-Saharan side of Africa. Only then can we talk of success. Investment is there, yes, it was done, but was it successful? I don't think so. Because at the end of the day, we're feeding into something that has not been invested as much. So we always have less and less. I come to the point that I wanted to jump when you said about dry ports. Dry ports are very, very important. Because at the end of the day, you realize that there is competition between road and rail, but there should not be competition, there should be complementation. So we complement each other in every aspect. So if we have dry ports, instead of having 800 trucks queuing for 30 kilometers, spending 4 or 5 days queuing, we have efficient dry ports. But the most important thing when you have dry ports is make sure you plan correctly. You plan them and plan them according to the corridor. Because if you randomly plan them again, that choke again is coming, because we have seen quite a number of dry ports that have popped up, and they are defeating the whole purpose of having those dry ports. So if we properly plan so that they're in a network, that they feed into a particular corridor, it becomes more efficient, and the integration becomes more pronounced. Thank you.
All right. Maybe you can pass the mic to Mr. Dlamini to also comment on the issue of the dry ports. And also I would like if you can also talk to the issue of investment in your region, from where you're coming from.
Thank you, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So the issue of dry ports is an important one for us as a country, especially because we are landlocked. Dry ports also serve as back-off port facilities. So, for instance, I mean, the closest seaport for us is Maputo Port. It's a port, so there's port facilities and so on. But in order to capture the traffic, the road traffic, these dry ports, we have 2 in the country operating. The newest one we built about 3 years ago, right? But already we are seeing the activity increase in terms of TEUs and traffic moved. And it's quite strategic because it sits right in the center of the network. So there's access down to Richards Bay and Durban and also Maputo. The way that we have positioned this particular one, so that the older one sits in an industrial area, just about north of the network, and then the latest one sits in the hub, sort of in the center of the country, and there's the sugar belt. So there's a lot of agro-processing that also happens there, so they refine the sugar, and we have found that we're not even coping with the volumes that we're getting. It was a phase 1, and the investment, so it's in 3 phases, where it said, oh no, let's try a smaller pad or hard standing and see how this thing performs. Now it's now exceeding our expectations. Now we have to go into the 2nd phase and the 3rd phase. We went, in terms of, now I'm also addressing the investment side of things. We went for because we had a railway that is not supported by subventions from government. So we had to go and approach a commercial bank for a loan. It was minuscule, I mean, considering some of the billions that are required for projects. But that 10 million, in fact, there is, so it was a 10 million loan. And we negotiated with the banks. We got the interest at, well, the interest was prime minus. I don't know whether you've heard of that, but but we had to negotiate for that. I didn't know you could get something like that. But the good thing is we've been able to pay off the loan. There's only a small amount left now because of the revenue generated by this. Right? So it's a very good. And then also what it does is we remove all the heavy traffic because government, we sit under the Ministry of Works and Public Works and Transport. So in a way, we are, because we need the trucks, but also we need to protect the infrastructure. I mean, government spends billions on road infrastructure. So we are protecting the road infrastructure and as well benefiting in migrating traffic from road to rail. We have plans for 4 more dry ports, and these are the 3 are planned in such a way that they capture the traffic as it enters the border into Eswatini. So there will be, and the dream is that as soon as the truck enters the border in Eswatini, it's either it deposits this the cargo in this dry port, and then that whatever consignment it is then taken down by train, whether it's the industrial areas or wherever. So it will also serve, imports and exports. But if we want to even make that as seamless as possible, we are planning to mirror what some of you have seen maybe on the Channel Tunnel, where whole trucks are actually transported by train. So you don't even deposit the cargo. But so these are some of the things that we think dry ports actually will benefit the country. So protecting the road infrastructure and also help us with our strategy of migrating road to rail. Thank you. There's other projects that maybe I can touch, but for the benefit of others, I will.
Thank you. I don't know how much time we've got. Maybe we can touch on digitalization and visibility. Okay. All right. Okay. Maybe we can jump to the closing remarks. If you were to advise policymakers today, what top 3 priorities would you recommend? Maybe we can start from there, coming this way, in terms of how we can now, the region is well connected, but maybe there isn't that optimization of the connectivity that we have. So what message do we have for the policymakers?
Thank you. I think the policymakers have done a tremendous job in providing an enabling environment for us to operate as railways. Why am I saying that? I think in the morning it was mentioned that there's this SADC protocol, which, the policymakers, they can chart the route, they can, specify what needs to be done. But it's really down to us as railway administrators to execute. We had the Minister for Transport yesterday, Barbara Creasy, talking about open access. So I think it's really, it's a call to arms for us as railway operators to execute. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yolisa?
For me, we already have a rail reform and we are seeing the benefits of that. It allows private sector participation. But I'd go for fixing the network. How do we enable ourselves to fix the networks or the infrastructure in a very cost-effective manner? If I buy an equipment as Transnet, it's 30% more expensive than when our customers buy the same equipment on our behalf. And it's equally quicker, right? So I think that, and this is how we're now finding it easier to work through private partners. It's quicker and it's cheaper. We appreciate the fact that we understand the need why the infrastructure must remain in the hands of government, but we can't operate in the manner in which we are supposed to, given the potential we have as a continent under the same procurement regime.
Thank you. The integrated intermodal transportation, it's going to be the backbone. It's actually the backbone of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. Because for Africa to be able to move their products across borders, they really must align infrastructure, policy, technologies across all borders. So if I was a policymaker or advice I would give them, they need to prioritize 3 areas. Number 1, they need to build and prioritize intermodal trade corridors. Number 2, they need to harmonize transport and trade policies across borders. Number 3, they will need to scale digital logistics platforms for end-to-end visibility so that we are all in the clear. So if they focus on those 3 points, it summarizes everything. Thank you.
Thank you. I think, Candido, maybe I still want something to be said on digitalization. What barriers must be overcome to scale regionally for the full end-to-end transparency?
Not cut your question.
Okay, digital platforms and the real cargo visibility are critical to shipper confidence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we don't have choice because the future, it will be digitalization. So as a railway, as a port, we need to use the technology which is available for safety to reduce the high prices of the commodities. And just to deviate a little bit, I think so, all the railways here in the region, if you ask one railway that are you sufficient with rolling stock, locomotive wagons, I think so no one will say that I am. So we need to fix our infrastructure. We need to have more rolling stock because the industry is growing too much in our region. Thank you very much.
BP?
Thank you. In terms of policy and digitalization, I have exactly 4 points to make. Number 1, at the seaport, whoever is the owner of the port, they have to involve efficient private partners for operation and maintenance, providing that services of unloading and loading. Secondly, coming to the cross-border movement, whether it is trucks or by road or train, the legal framework should be provided by the government by laying down policy, having tripartite, bipartite agreement between the countries for faster movement at that point. And third, extremely important point, which was mentioned by the first speaker, CEO of ESR, establishment of strategically located dry ports and put them in a PPP model, public-private partnership model, so that it is more efficient. Government doesn't have to invest much money, but they provide the framework for its efficient operation. And fourth, digitalization, which you mentioned, is extremely important from transparency and traceability perspective. This is important for us for efficient operation, and it is also important for customer satisfaction. When a customer's consignment is coming, I will say he should be apprised every day where is his consignment and when it is expected to reach. So digitalization of operations system, which is behind the curtain, and for customer information. From both perspectives, it is extremely important. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll give you the freedom to choose what you
Okay, thanks for the freedom, for the favor. I think maybe the first one is to comment on the policy that you have mentioned, and I agree with Mr. Dlamini. We don't have a policy deficiency currently. Probably it will be about how we roll out and how we adopt within different countries in the region when it comes to different policies that we have and protocols that we currently have. So maybe what I need to point out, I would say when it comes to intermodality transport, I think there are quite various layers that we can look at this. Of course, I think we have discussed about the infrastructure layer and yeah, I think everyone has been speaking about the investments, but I think what we also need to be is to be pragmatic and know that the funding that we currently requires in rail is a lot, and our countries, based on our countries, there are other priorities than putting a lot of money in rail. So the question would be, how then do we make the best of what we have? How then do we make the best? What is obvious is that, like as I have pointed out, there is so much investment in road, then there's limited investment in rail. So within that system, how best can we make the best? So there are various optimization models that we need to adopt within these various corridors. Then there's, I think, which speaks to the digitization, which is about the information layer. So what is clear when it comes to logistics is that we've got, of course, different clients when it comes to logistics. People who are much worried with tracking, people who deal with fresh produce, groceries, containers. But when you speak with mines, when they are stockpiling, they are not worried with tracking. So in terms of resources, then how do we allocate those resources to those who are much worried with want to track? And the other issue is connectivity rolling out. If you would speak to Transnet, they will tell you that you can't access their signals and use their signals to track. So if you have probably a tracker on a container, what about when it gets to dark points within the network? So it speaks to also how do we then connectivity roll out? Yeah.
All right. No, thank you very much. We'll leave it there for now. The message is clear. The solutions are within our reach, but they demand collective action. Like we've all said before, we can't just talk and end here. We need to talk outside these walls and continue the discussions for this to bear fruit. I would like to thank the panelists. Please give them a big round of applause. And as per tradition, I've only got something for the lady. Thank you very much all for listening.